Well, I finished this chair at the 11th hour. My friend Laura is arriving today, well, tonight, and because of snowstorms, the flights were delayed. And while all that was happening, I was still caning this chair, but it's finally done. There's one last step that needs to be done. That's the tying of these loose ends at the bottom. But there's the finished chair. And I am just, that took so long. It always takes so much longer than I anticipate, and I always forget that. But finishing the chair and seeing it done is such a huge source of pride and accomplishment. It feels wonderful, and I highly recommend this to anyone out there that's interested. If this is intriguing to you, do it. Go somewhere like a thrift shop or an antique shop or even yard sales and look for a chair that needs to be caned. If the seat's gone or if it's broken, it's usually not expensive. And then bring it home. The supplies cost about $30 from Peerless Rattan. You just go online, you figure out what size cane you need. You get the pegs, the cane, the binding cane, the thing that goes around the edge, and then you just get to work. Now, when I started caning that chair, I just refreshed my memory with a couple of videos. I have a video of my own, but there's also a great video by the founder of this company called Peerless Rattan, Cindy Hammond, and it's the 7-step method of caning a chair. Very, very basic, simple video about how to do this. So I did that. I watched the video to refresh my memory and started again. And then sort of halfway during this process, I remembered that I have this wonderful book that I love called The Caner's Handbook. And I didn't take this book out to use it as a reference, really. I took it out just to kind of inspire myself while I was caning the chair. And when I started reading this book again, I was just really reminded of why I always prefer a book over videos for this type of thing. Videos are great for showing you something. A video is a great thing for an instructional method to follow along, to see how something's done. Something that might only be theoretical in a book, but that you can see played out in a video. But the reason why, for so many things, my go-to is to find a book, even with information. Like if I'm doing historic research, you can go online. I mean, I do go online, but the solid information for me is always from a book. And the reason why I prefer books over videos is because a book has to be vetted. In order to publish a book, to get a book made, multiple people, usually, for the most part, have to agree on certain things. The book gets edited, facts get checked. It's a lot of work to have a book made. And that work and that vetting and the process of all of the authorities coming together to put out a book is what makes the information, for me, much more valuable than a video. And as I was reading this book, I was just really reminded of that. There were so many little things that were mentioned in this book that I thought, oh, I didn't do that, or oh, I forgot about that. And it was just a reminder. If you're going to do something like this, if you're going to cane a chair for the first time, that chair maybe took me 12 hours in total. I did it very leisurely. I did it kind of peacefully here and there. But in total, it was about 12 hours of work. And for all of that work, like, it's not a talent, it's a skill. Everything's very methodical. But for all of that work, it would be very nice to do it perfectly. Because if you do it well, you're going to live with it. And if you do it perfectly, it really is a thing of beauty. And that's what this book reminded me of. So I read something that was wonderful here, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay, here we go. So preparation. This is preparing the piece of furniture to be caned. Before removing old cane from a chair, take a good look at its size and the pattern of its weave. Make a written or mental note on which holes the diagonal steps have skipped or doubled up. Or you can take a picture. I think this was written before it was easy to just take pictures. I think this was written when you had to take a picture and get the negatives developed, so they didn't say take a picture. Make a written note or mental note on which holes the diagonal steps have skipped or doubled up. The diagonal steps, the 5th and 6th steps of the 7-step method, are the strands that run diagonally across the seat as you face the chair. In some cases, a chair may have been caned poorly in the first place, so to copy a poor job would be of little use. To determine whether a chair has been caned improperly, ask yourself, is it pleasing? Are the holes in the cane pattern evenly spaced? Do the diagonal strands run smoothly across the seat? Run your eye along the edge of the seat along the binder cane. Do the cane strands form a series of X's and fish eyes? A fish eye occurs when two diagonal strands double up in the same hole. If you can answer yes to these questions, the chair has been caned well. And if a few simple rules are followed, anyone can achieve the same good results. So the thing that I loved about this little part is determining whether a chair had been caned properly or improperly by asking yourself, is it pleasing? I'm sure today many people would look at it and say, I don't know. I don't really know what to look for. And that would be a very valid response to this. I've done this a few times, so I'm becoming more and more familiar with the real intricacies of this craft, of this skill. And there were some things in here as I continued to read the instructions that were very detailed for every single step. There's a point where on the curved parts of the seat, the strands, like multiple strands, are going into the same hole. And there are points when you have to choose, because it's not very clear where the strand of cane should go. You have to choose between two holes, which hole the strand should go through. And if you are just doing this without thinking about it, then it's kind of all over the place. But if you're really thinking about it, you can achieve something that's really aesthetically pleasing. And I realized that I thought I was doing it perfectly. And then after reading this book, well, after reading this section and seeing certain little tiny things, I was like, ugh, I put the strand in the wrong hole. You know, Heidi, when your grandfather came back from that war, he was so confused. He just put it in the wrong hole. Anyways, yeah, so I put the strand in the wrong hole. And there was no turning back from it, because I had gone way past the point of no return. And, you know, that is where I just really reminded at the end of this process of all of this work, no one really is going to notice. Like no one's going to really look at this and know. But someone who really canes furniture would know. And here's the most important thing. I know. So it's down here when these strands that are going diagonally, these ones right here. So when they're going diagonally, see how they're going diagonally and then slightly down this way, they bend? Well, that is what I did incorrectly. According to this book, which is right, because when I saw the pictures, I was like, yep, they're right. There should have been a place where, like, this strand right here should have not gone into this hole. It should have come down on this diagonal, and it should have been pulled, and it should have doubled into this hole, instead of the diagonal going like this and then breaking the diagonal and changing an angle. They would have smoothly continued. I had to sit there and look at the book for like 10 minutes to truly understand what I was looking at. And then when I came home, I continued to cane the chair the right way. And that's where you can kind of see this side, and this side are different. It's so subtle. All of this is like the pattern, but here is where there's room for perfection. These corners and these edges. It's where the cane goes into the holes that you can really do this in a really beautiful way. So it's not bad. Like, this job is a lot better than my first attempt, but I see things that I could have fixed had I read this first and not relied just on the video. And this is, I'm talking about this with just this specific example of this cane chair, but I do this with everything. Like, if I'm trying to learn a new thing, even playing the harp. When I first started playing the harp, I got books, like beginner harp book, method books, little, and I read those because they come from a pedigree. They come from a line of teachers that are well known, and that legitimacy of the printed word that has been vetted in books, in magazines, and in newspapers, I believe is a lot more reliable than just going online and sifting around and finding information that way. So that's why I prefer a book for something like this. Use both. That's the wonderful thing. You have both. Start with a book, though. Start with a book if you can, and then watch the videos. Or start with the video as for inspiration, and then if you want to take the plunge and actually do it, get a book. That's my rambling about my preferences for this type of thing, learning this type of thing. And now, someone has a chair to sit on. Tight as a drum.